Welcome to Seth's Daily Podcast. Without you guys, this wouldn't be possible. I want to thank you guys for subscribing. We're blessed enough to have two Bigfoot researchers on, including one that has a podcast of his own, Connor Flynn and Joe the Hoyos. How are you guys doing tonight, man?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. How you doing, Connor?
I'm doing magical, man. I'm glad the stars finally aligned. I know we root for the same sports teams, the Browns, the Tribe, and the Cavs. So it's awesome to dish it around about, Bigfoot, the Mothman, and maybe the Lake Erie Monster. So it's awesome to be here.
Or the Browns game being moved to Monday.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was definitely not a surprise, man. We had 20-some players out.
It's all, man, the whole charade going on right now in the world. It's such a joke. I'm glad they push it back, but I can't really give too much of my energy and my passion to that side of it because it is just a facade.
Absolutely, man. But we'll definitely want to talk to both of you gentlemen about Bigfoot and stuff, and we'll leave all that stuff for all the other individuals out there if they want to touch the football side of why people were out and stuff. But Joe, I know you do your own show and stuff.
Yeah, man. It's my own show right behind me called Beyond the Woodline, and it actually encompasses a bunch of stuff, whether it's Bigfoot, aliens, paranormal. I got a guy on there that remote viewing, alien abductions, conspiracy theories. Yeah, man. I try to cover a lot of topics. But yeah, I myself I got started in the Bigfoot about 6, 7 years ago. That's when I met some guys in the Bigfoot field, which I've always been interested in since I was a little kid. And yeah, then I met Will Jevning, and we became really, really good friends. And I'm his executive director for his group, and yeah, I kind of oversee different teams all across the country, and take care of his group for him too. So yeah, man, I like doing it. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, man, definitely send me your link to your podcast. I'll put in the description.
Okay, cool, man.
And Connor, how did you get started in the Bigfoot hunting and stuff?
Oh man, being from Northeast Ohio, I was always surrounded by Grassman lore, and then stories of the Minerva monster, and then the Witch's Ball, Crybaby Bridges. So just growing up, rooting for the Dog Pound and being surrounded by the Brownies, which are elves originally, and now I think it's the Dogman logo after all the Dennison sightings, and of course the ones that happen at Sleepy Hollow up in Northeast Ohio as well. But me, man, I've always just had a passion for the unsolved mysteries, the strange, the monsters. Grew up hunting, fishing, hiking, so it all came together. Now I write books, make movies, and hike all the time. So really, I'm just reliving my childhood to the next level, and hopefully 2022 just keeps the momentum going. And I just love, searching for our bridge to the creator. I feel like this is our closest grasp to the skies above, the heavens, the ancient books, the old carvings, the archaic stones that all line up with the mound builders that we had ancestors here in this country, man. We had kings and queens. So I'm not worshiping no politicians of the modern time. Something is special inside our DNA, and we have to cherish that and really absorb it and move forward. And I'm not letting the establishment slow me down one bit.
Absolutely. And Joe, do you have any questions for Connor?
No, not really. I'm sure once we get going, we'll have plenty of questions for each other, man. That's just the way it usually works.
Absolutely, man. Have you both of you actually encountered a Bigfoot ever before?
Yes, on multiple occasions. I've had multiple strange encounters with weird entities. When I was 12 years old, me and two friends encountered the Wolfman of Sleepy Hollow. And then we had a bear cat type creature drop down us in the Ohio Valley. And then ever since I moved to the Florida swamps, I've had a lot of stuff happen down here. Trees go down right next to us. We found hair in Mayaca, hair in the green swamp. Down in the Everglades, we got growls. We got recorded whoops and howls and have them on our back camera, and a bunch of fun Class B encounters. But we've Also had those Class A encounters when they're right outside our tent, throwing stuff at us, samurai chatter. I'm definitely a lifetimer, and this is just my life. I bleed Bigfoot, and I'm really excited just for this new era of it, because there's new tech coming out, there's new approaches. Even the TV shows are going a little bit more open-minded. I'm never going to rely on them. It's going to be the underground community that pushes this forward. But it is nice to see them mentioning the mound builders and the giant bone discoveries. So they're meeting us halfway. So it's just an ongoing journey. And again, I'm searching for this, 12-foot creature in these Florida swamps. But I've made so many friends and awesome nights, discussing these cryptids and creatures. And every day I'm searching for haunted trailers, and I'm a historian first and foremost. I'm just trying to uncover the stories of our land that have been forgotten, even if it's not paranormal. So I just love diving into history, and that's what it really starts with.
Yeah, I haven't had a full sighting. I've seen flashes of fur a couple times, but I've had sticks thrown at me, rocks thrown at me. I've got the recordings of the whoops and the screams and the hollers and the howls, for that matter. I found prints. I found a 3-inch print and an 8-inch print. And I actually found what I think are knuckle prints. We found a hog with a head ripped off one day. Yeah, not too long ago. Yeah, a lot of the peripheral experiences, I guess you could say. Some people call them Class A, Class B, Class C. I call them peripheral. But yeah, man, we've had some pretty cool stuff. I got a recording actually of footsteps right outside our tent. I left the recorder out one day, and this was like 2 years ago. And then right when COVID hit, everybody got shut down. My friend Shane texts me, goes, "Hey man, I'm listening to that, to the recordings we did like 2 years ago." And he goes, "Man, you can hear footsteps outside our tent." And I was like, "No shit." And he goes, "Yeah, man." And so he sent them to me, man. You can hear these footsteps right outside our tent, walking around the tent. We were in there sleeping away, man. So it was pretty good. And it was definitely, bipedal. So it was either somebody else, which was crazy because we're all armed, and so we've had quite a bit of experiences like that,
Wow.
Yeah.
And you two doing your research, have you found a connection between Bigfoot and UFOs or aliens?
Definitely, I have. One of my good friends here, Donnie Miller, he runs Standing Goats Rescue. He has a crazy story. When he was younger, he was abducted by aliens, him and his family. And had about 15 Class A face-to-face encounters that have been on Sasquatch Chronicles, Bigfoot Odyssey, and just hearing his story face-to-face, him repeat it every time. And he has a brain injury that the only way he remembers things is to see it like perfectly. So it's a weird anomaly, just him discussing his encounters to you, because he can literally describe every single detail to you. But yes, they definitely correlate a little, but I don't think every single one is connected. If there's things in the sky, they're definitely into whatever's intelligent down here on the ground. And as us, we're going to absorb what's in the sky. So it's the same connection as us and UFOs. But of course, they are the ancient ones. So I'm guessing their connection to the skies are a little bit closer than ours.
Yeah, I don't know if I know they're necessarily connected, but I know there's a lot of encounters where they're seen together, or at least in the same proximity to each other. That's just my own personal opinion, and I'm not saying that they're not. Yeah, I just don't know if they are for sure. The same thing with the paranormal aspect, or the woo, whatever people want to call that. I don't know if I necessarily believe that either, but I'm not as against that as I used to be. I used to be like, man, you got to be fucking full of shit or crazy. And I'm sorry if I cuss, I do cuss.
You're
But,
fine, man.
But I used to be like 100% against that kind of talk, or I guess that kind of language, But I've come around the last couple of years to, because there's just too many experiences and too many encounters where this stuff happens, and still there's a part of me that thinks that if that's what's going on, it is probably not Bigfoot. It's probably something else, like a different entity. But I'm definitely a lot more open than I used to be, and especially within the last few months of my own personal experiences that I've had that aren't necessarily Bigfoot related, but I've had a lot of personal experiences in the last few months. So yeah, man, I'm not as against that as I used to be.
what's actually some of the experiences that you've had these past couple months that has changed your mind?
Yeah, man, dude, I've never told anybody any of these stories. Uh, let's just say they're UFO and alien related. You know, yeah, I've had some crazy experiences and some strange dreams that I don't think are dreams, and you know, I really don't want to get into it until I examine it a little bit more. But yeah, some crazy stuff happened to me in the last few months, and just trying to process it all. And I've got somebody in the UFO and alien field that's helping me process this stuff, and it's pretty interesting. And when I get ready to tell it all, I'll be sure to let you know.
Absolutely, man. I've had a guy on that's been abducted by UFOs.
Yeah,
I believe it's made him sick and everything. His
yeah,
name is Russ. He's from the UK. He has a bunch of books out. He's been on the BBC and all that.
right.
But he said that actually I'm gonna share some stuff that he said the connection between Bigfoot and UFOs and aliens. He said the Bigfoot is the alien's bodyguard.
Hmm, that's interesting. You know, it seems like everyone has a theory. There's 1,000 theories out there, even
Mhm.
within just the UFO Bigfoot connection. There's 1,000 different theories with that. Um, so I think at some point in time we got to pick one. What is their connection? If there's a connection, what is that connection? You know, and I don't know. Maybe there's 1,000 different connections. Maybe they are their pets. Maybe the Bigfoot is the alien. But you know, we got to narrow that down. But before we even do that, let's prove this creature exists. You know, and that's really what I want to do. You know, just prove its existence first and foremost for myself, and then I work on other people. But until it comes out in the open, I'm not trying to figure out they jump through portals or jump through dimensions or cloak or uh, fly UFOs or whatever. You know, and again, I'm not going to discount anything that anyone says because the last thing I want to do is call anyone a liar or tell someone that's not what you saw. Because I've had friends and family come up to me and tell me uh, that they've seen this creature and they saw it disappear right in front of their eyes. You know, and who am I to tell them that that's not what you saw? That's not what you witnessed. You know, I think as a researcher or investigator, whatever you want to call yourself, you can't do that. You just can't do that to people. And you know, especially if you want them to come out and open themselves up, you know, it takes a lot of guts to do that, and then you're going to shut them down like that. You know, let's figure out what they saw and let's figure out what's going on, and we'll go from there.
Definitely, man. It's definitely been interesting for sure hearing people's accounts of seeing Bigfoot and going into UFOs, especially. That's one of the weirdest things that I've heard.
Yeah, well, you know, if abductions taking places, they take everything. So, you know, we've heard people walking into UFOs, cattle walking into UFOs, different animals walking into UFOs, and I'm pretty sure they've got some kind of mental capabilities that aliens do to attract these creatures, entities, or whatever you want to call them, inside their craft. So why wouldn't they be susceptible to that?
Absolutely.
I'm sorry if I talk too much.
Oh no, you're good, man. You're good. This is
Dude,
definitely
I get on a roll and I won't stop, man.
oh, you're good. This is information people need to know, man, for sure.
And I'm definitely an advocate for supernatural being natural because even the connection between a mother and child is special and kind of unexplainable. You know, they can feel each other through walls, love, electricity. We wake up and we dream the world when we fall asleep. And then just even our protons and electrons, we're mostly particle form, solid all the time. But in our true moments of being, we could become waveform. And of course, I think these creatures can maybe tap into that energy a little bit easier. Not all of them are walking through portals and vanishing, but then with the use of infrasound, camouflage like an octopus or some birds use, echolocating like bats and dolphins, they're just the apex of nature. So pretty much all those things are already seen out there. So it's pretty much just that enhanced. But I also think they have those telepathy abilities. But again, humans do too, if we didn't have all the distractions and poisons and everyday pettiness that we have to hurdle over. But it is a very slippery slope. But again, just like Joe said, as a researcher, you cannot throw out these cases, because if you have a narrow vision, then you're going to be short-sighted and your data is corrupted anyway. And that's why I have such an open mind. And I do get a lot of submissions that other people would never submit. You know, they would never go to other people with it because the stories are so off the wall. But I'll never stomp someone on the ground, man. I've seen a lot of things. I lived out in my car across America. So I'm a homeless guy that lived out of the dump for a while. So I don't ever draw myself above anybody. So I can, you know, get down to any level and just level with people. And that's what it's about as an investigator, as a researcher, as a human being at the bottom line.
Yeah, I find just being open about this subject, other people will open up to them, will open up to you. You know, you know, that's my experience. You know, there was a time when I didn't necessarily broadcast it. I never really hid it, but I didn't broadcast it like I do now. But over the last few years, you know, like I said, friends and family will come up to me, and even strangers on the street, you know, or I mean, literally strangers on the street, people in the gas station. Hey, is that your truck out there with the Bigfoot sticker on it? Yeah. Well, let me tell you this story. You know, and they'll start telling me the story. You know, I like that. You know, so you know, I think you have to open yourself up and put yourself out there, and people will come to you. You know, I think people will open up. And like I said, I've had tattoo artists, a guy who did my decal, who made my Bigfoot decal, open up. People, co-workers, you know, come up to me. So it's pretty cool stuff.
Absolutely. Don't you have some prints, Connor?
Yes, I sent you a bunch of pictures of different prints we found. We found like 5 or 6 prints in the green swamp. Found like 4 good prints in my ACA. One of them was a perfect barefoot print, and one guy actually inverted colors and saw there were 6 toes. So there's a Nephilim and ancient alien connection right there. But we've also found small footprints, like Joe was saying. He's found 3-inch footprints. My mom has found a little like 4.5 inch ones, and then 3-toed ones. And then we also found them at Ocheesee Landing, which is near Ocheesee Pond, which is my favorite story. It's the mecca of the skunk ape. One was captured in the 1800s here in the Panhandle. It was sent to the governor. The governor sent it to Chattahoochee Hospital. They kept it there for 3 years, probably experimenting on it, running all the data. They had a file on him. And then I guess they buried him with a bunch of Native Americans. And then they put a building on top. And I've actually been on the grounds a few times recently, filming and trying to find where the tomb would be or where the grave would be. And a lot of people, they say it's near the golf course over there. But I don't know, man, because a lot of it is under restriction because there's a deep underground military base underneath the hospital. I filmed a couple of the tunnels, and the landlord, my buddy, he's the head technician over there. So he actually lives on that campus. And the landlord, one of his bosses, said we can't release any of the footage, and it's a big little cover up. So we're trying to get some Freedom of Information Acts, and I just want everybody to know the Ocheesee Pond Wildman story. Definitely research it. There's a bunch of documentaries. The descendants of the Ocheesee Pond Wildman are still lurking that same water today. There's Native American mummies there that I might think are related to these ancient ones. Maybe Ponce de Leon found the Fountain of Youth when he came down here, and it's his tribe. A lot of people, there's a big Mormon population down here. Joseph Smith, he found Cain in the 1800s, and Cain was covered in hair and taller than Joseph on his horse. So maybe it's one of the marked ones, or just one of his descendants. But it's some crazy stuff how there's a biblical and ancient connection right here. But yes, I do have some prints and pictures of them, and we've casted a few. This is one of the casts we got in a cave. I don't think the creature is very big. This is either a homeless hiker or a railroader, or some kind of cave dweller like in the Descent. But the cool thing about this cast is it was going up in mud, so you actually get the toe scrapes and the full foot. But there really isn't much of a mid-tarsal break, so that's what makes me think it's like a rake type creature or just a homeless man that found this cave. But there was only one footprint, And when we discovered it, we were filming, and there's a huge electronical interference, and we filmed like 2 hours of footage, and the only bit that was really messed with was that. So it was just a lot of strange anomalies. I was really happy to come out with a successful cast, though, because we've had a lot of casts that are like downward angles that you can't really tell anything. But that's the thing, you know, footprints are not the exact print on the ground. It's the damage the foot does to the ground. So you just have to just take it in stride and do the evidence and gather stuff the best you can. Like whenever we found hair, we do it with gloves and put it in envelopes. You know, we don't have a $100,000 production running, but you can try to do things the rightest you can.
Right. Yeah. See, these are what I think are the knuckle prints that were in the
Dude,
ground.
yeah, that is awesome.
And then this was like the very first set. So this was like what I think when it first went onto the ground, because it was the most shallowest. So I have 1 and 4, and my friend Walter has 2 and 3 because there was 4 sets. Now they were 4.5 feet apart, right? So I've had people tell me that there were like heels of a boot, but if there was a heel, then right here will be the sole of the shoe. There's no sole there,
Right.
and because I tried to duplicate them with several different pairs of shoes on, and it looked like it's like they walk on their knuckles and it slid down the sand, and we were right there in that area that morning. Those prints weren't there, and this was like right across from where we parked our trucks. It's a long dead end road. And we get to the dead end, we get out, we go on one side of the forest, we check over there, then we come back on the other side and we check it. And while we were on this other side, I'm sure that they came from the other side, or at least that one did, and he got on all fours to check us out. Those are the only prints around, and there weren't hooves. I know that because I sent them to several people who are in like rodeo for a living. They're like, man, that's not a hoof. There's no way that's a hoof, you know. And if it was a person, I said 4.5 feet stride. And they're either running on their tiptoes or running on their heels, which isn't the way people run, you know.
Right.
You know, so, and like I said, and if it was and I've tried it with the heel of my foot and with the tiptoes, and I couldn't do it without making the sole of my shoe also on the ground. So that was pretty.
Have you tried doing the knuckles before?
Yeah.
And then creates that gap right there that
yeah.
the sole would be. So, dude,
Right.
I think it's knuckles. It aligns with many different footages I've seen of them crawl like that, many different reports, and other knuckle prints, and that looks like knuckle prints, man. That's very,
If you think
very
about it,
interesting.
they're on their knuckles. A lot of that weight would be on their knuckles.
Mhm.
And in this same area, my friend Walter's, where he had his encounter, where he saw the 9.5 foot one. Then we found a tree that was, it was broke, but it was twisted, and it was like 12 feet up in the air. And it was the only tree that was like that. It was hanging over the road where we go in, and we go down this road at least once every 2-3 weeks, right? And so we went back there, and it was like 2 weeks since our last visit. Well, I don't say he went down there, and he was like, dude, this fucking branch is twisted, man. So he sent me the picture. I went down there the next week. So within a month time from the last time I was there, that happened. But it was happened within 2 weeks from the last time he was there. And yeah, man, that tree was twisted, and it wasn't wind damage because we didn't have any hurricanes or any wind that strong. It wasn't ice damage. It was during the summertime, and it definitely wasn't like from like an 18-wheeler, like a truck, because it's not going to fit down that road. Number one, number two, it would have broke all the other branches on the way down there, you know.
Right.
And that was the only branch that, I mean, it was clearly twisted, like it was like you were wringing out a dish rag. And I found a bunch of tree breaks in that same area. You know, when Walter first got down there, he found a turd that was about the size of a Coke can, you know. Yeah, so it was pretty crazy. And that's the same area where we also found the hog with no head. It wasn't shot, it wasn't stabbed. It was just his head was ripped off. It wasn't cut off. Yeah. So we like that area. It's a very good area. We got a lot of vocals out there. We heard, man, I got this growl. Yeah, people were like, man, that's an alligator, or that's a, you know, whatever, you know. I'm like, dude, this is freaking January. I don't know if you guys know, but we had a very cold winter here for Texas. You know, them alligators aren't out at that time in the middle of January. Yeah, so I got a pretty good growl on there, and I've heard stuff bouncing off my recorder, like little rocks being thrown at it. Tree breaks. I've got tree breaks on that recorder too. It's a very active area.
Nice.
Wow. That's wild, man. And that's around water, right?
Oh yeah, man. There's a big creek right there, big creek, and it goes on for a long ways.
Wow, man. That just proves it even more what my buddy, his theory was. He's a Bigfoot researcher from here in Kentucky, Don Neal. I don't know if you guys have heard of him. He's part of the Kentucky Bigfoot Research Organization.
Mhm. Oh
His
yeah.
theory is that Bigfoot hangs around waters and follows the waters.
Oh yeah. Yeah. They say that in the Legend of Boggy Creek in the very opening, that it always follows the waterways. Have you guys seen the Legend of Boggy Creek?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
No,
at,
One
at
sir.
the
and
very
two.
yeah at the very beginning it says he always follows the waterways, and that's what they do. That's the one place I always check. I check all the creeks, all the streams, natural springs. Man, you find a natural spring, check that area out. That's where I found the two prints,
Wow,
the 3-inch print and then the 8-inch print, right at the natural spring.
Hmm.
Yeah,
wow. Have you actually seen like the prints in the creek?
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Wow,
Both of them were in the creek. I don't have a picture of the 3-inch track. I got a picture of my 8-inch track. I don't know if you guys can see it, man. The damn light.
Yeah,
Uh,
try to tilt it a little bit. We could see it a little bit, but the light, the light is
yeah,
messed up.
that
I can
might.
see the outline though.
Yeah, I have to send it to you guys, but that's a Gatorade bottle right next to it. It's like a 20-ounce Gatorade
Oh
bottle.
wow.
There you go.
there
That-
we go. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. That was in 2019, and you can see how boxy the print is too, and you can almost see the mid tarsal really on that.
that's impressive, man.
Yeah,
Getting it in the water.
yeah. It was right on the. It like it stepped over the creek and it stepped on the other side of the bank. Yeah, I can see it now. But anyway,
Wow.
yeah. Um, yeah, and that was in the middle of the creek in the Samington Forest. It was like in May, April or May when the snakes are out. So who's walking around barefooted? And we've gone down these creeks, and man, we found copperhead, cottonmouths. They're abundant there in the San Houston. If you're walking around there barefooted, you're asking for trouble.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely, man. You're definitely asking to get snake bit.
You're actually gonna lose a toe, if not a whole foot.
Yeah, that's impressive though, man. That absolutely blew my mind.
Yeah. It was way off trail, man. So I mean, who's walking around? And then, like I said, the 3-inch print was right in that same area. Who's letting their kids walk around there barefooted? And the 3-inch trick is a 3-inch print is like a 9-month-old baby. For us.
Right.
So someone who's barely starting to walk or whatever. That's when kids start walking 9 months or to a year, mostly anyway. So and then that same area, I have a friend of mine named Shawn Michael, not the wrestler, but another guy named Shawn Michael. Uh, one day he went out there and he's got this scream on his he recorded this scream, and the next day I went out there the same area and I recorded the same scream.
Wow.
Yeah, it's an active area. I like that area.
That just
Wow.
backs up that just backs it up even more. Both of you guys hear that's not just something, man. That
Yeah,
that Bigfoot wanted you and your buddy to hear it.
yeah. In that same area, I was walking on a trail and I heard a grunt, and I said, "Damn hog over here," So I got off the trail and I walked down a little bit around the lake. I was walking along the bank, and I probably walked down, I don't know, maybe like 100 yards. And I said, "Okay, I'm gonna get back on the trail." So I made my way through the woods, got back on the trail, started walking again. I heard that grunt again. I said, "That's a damn hog," Shit, I don't want, you don't want to have an encounter with a hog. I had a 45, but even against a hog, you're gonna have to unload that clip. And so I got back, I got off trail again, started walking more along the bank, walked down a little bit further, maybe another 100 yards, and I got made it come back towards the trail again. And I got back on the trail and I started walking. Then I heard a snap. It sounded like a branch just snap. And I was like, okay, what the hell was that? So I reached down, I grabbed my pistol and I pulled it out and I racked it around in the chamber. And when I did that, I heard it, raw, raw. So whatever it was didn't like me racking that around. You know, it was pretty cool. But I've heard that particular growl in the same area where Walter had his encounter. He calls it our area because uh, I was like the first one to well, he contacted me first, so I'm the first one that's ever gone out there with him. But it's really his area. But he calls it our area. Um, So we went out there one day. We went to go pick up some recorders, and on the way in, we maybe got like a quarter mile in, well, a quarter mile to that site, and I started getting this bad feeling. And I told him to do. I said, I feel bad. I feel like there's something going on. So I think we need to get our recorders and get the hell out. I said, okay. We park his truck, turn it around, get out. We go get our trail cams and our recorders. And he says, hey, let's just hang out right here by the truck. I said, all right. So we started hanging out there, and we heard that again. I said, yeah, they don't want us here. So that was pretty cool.
Dude, Texas has a lot of very cool stories, ranging from just the Lake Worth monster, the white Bigfoot here in America, and then the desert apes over in El Paso, which those stories range from just like tailless monkeys, ranging from these apes that have been seen carrying guns in the desert. So stories get really wild. And then, of course, the chupacabra down there in Texas, the boogeyman. And then one of my buddies, Media Palace, Eric, he lives by Brushy Creek, and there's the Beast of Brushy Creek. I'm not sure which area. I'm sure there's many Brushy Creeks in Texas, but he recently made a documentary because there's been missing people and dead bodies being found. And then there was a cave cemented off, and then there's a road called Hairy Man Road that they recently closed off. And he's been filing Freedom of Information Acts and doing a bunch of great stuff down there in Texas. So definitely recommend it to you and everybody out there for the Texas Wood Boogers. Man, he's definitely shaking up the pop bottle on it. But man, yeah, Texas, everything is bigger down there, 100%.
Yeah, man, get a hold of me. I'd love to go out with them. So I used to live outside of San Antonio, and about, I don't know, 40 miles outside of San Antonio, there's a place called Luling, Texas. And between Luling and San Antonio, there's all these little creeks, right? There's like Walnut Creek, Branch Creek, Allen Creek, Sawmill Creek, all these typical names, right? And you get to one, it's called Hollering Woman Creek.
Whoa.
Yeah, so like, makes you think, where did you get that name from? And I looked it up, and of course, it said that the Spanish named it that after the La Llorona. I don't know if y'all know what that is. Okay.
Of course.
Yeah, but I don't think that's what it's about, because it's like, well, she's all over the damn country. She's in Mexico, she's in the United States, she's in Canada. So I think he probably got his name some other way. I think it's probably from a Bigfoot out there hollering and screaming, because, excuse me, I used to live outside of San Antonio, and it was a place called Universal City. And right next to Universal City was a place called Converse, Texas. And when I was working out there, I met this young man. He had a Bigfoot shirt on one day, and I asked him about it, and he was like, yeah, man, me and my dad are interested. We watch all the shows and stuff. And he goes, we have our own here in Converse. And I said, really? He said, yeah, it's called the Converse Werewolves. And and it was, I looked it up, and it was like in the 1860s, I want to say, a farmer had sent his son out to go hunting, and he didn't come back. Well, no, he came back. He told his dad that there was a monster, and that he was scared to go out there. And the farmer's like, no, you need to get out there and hunt. So he went back out there. He didn't come back. The next morning, the farmer got some friends together. They went looking for him, and they found what they called was a werewolf hunkered over his son, eating at his body. And they tried to shoot it, but they said it was too fast. It took off too fast to shoot. Yeah, it's a weird story. You guys get a chance, look it up. The Converse Werewolf. It's about 19, 20 miles outside of San Antonio.
Wow. Yeah. Have you actually been to that location?
Yeah. I lived right down the road from it. Like I said, I was right next to I lived in Universal City. Converse was right here, and I used to go to that area all the time. And it's still got wooded areas in some points, but it was building up really, really fast. It was only like 2 years ago, maybe closer to 3 now. Yeah. But I've been out to the hill country. A lot of dogman encounters out in the hill country area. Very, very rocky terrain. Anything out there like a Bigfoot or a dogman is definitely going to have the advantage when it comes to scurrying or getting away. You're not going to catch anything. It's hard enough walking up those things, much less running up them. Very rocky area. I had some family that lived out near Austin, which is considered part of the hill country, and they called me up about 4 years ago and told me they were like, hey man, you're in the Bigfoot, right? I'm like, yeah. They're like, dude, I think we got that on our property. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah. He said that they would before they built before they got a trailer out there, they would just go out there and camp. They were just so happy to have the land, a lot of people just go out there and camp. And he said they would hear like these knocks in the middle of the night. He said, we didn't know what the hell it was. They've had this land, I think, almost 30 years in their family now. And they said they would hear these knocks out in the woods. I'm like, man, who the hell's out there banging on shit, right? or banging on the trees, and they would hear shit walking around them. And when they would go hunting, they would hear something walking in the woods alongside them. They had rocks thrown at them. You know, my cousin told me he would walk and he would like have to cover his head because the rocks would come right over his head. Uh, I had one of my cousins worked for the city of Houston, and he gave my uncle some poles to make the stop signs. You know, they use for the stop signs. He
Mhm.
gave them to my uncle so that he can make a deer feeder with it. He built a deer feeder. He took it out there, set it out in the middle of the woods, and when they came back 2 weeks later to check on it, all the legs were bent like in a U shape.
Wow.
Yeah,
That reminds me of the Rocky Creek rod bender. It's literally named after the rebar that they found just bent up in the woods. It's a either giant sloth that was not extinct or some type of skunk ape creature. So yes, they do love to show their strength, or maybe there is some kind of higher purpose to it. I know my buddy Chris Reinhardt from Discover Sasquatch, he's all about the RF meter, the radiation, and then he's been going near these structures and it ranges like 21. I'm not sure the decibels or whatever it is, but it's 21, and that's like 2 times as strong as a microwave. So somehow these structures have some kind of energy out there. So it's definitely very fascinating, man. But man, that is awesome. All the activity that I've heard in Texas, and then ranging from your stories, man. That whole state, 10 hours across, is full of just strange stuff from
it is like
Texarkana
16 hours.
all the way to New Mexico.
Yeah, yeah. One of my cousins told me one day that at the time her kids were like 11, 12 years old. She had some girls, and they were sleeping outside in the tent. By this time they had their trailer out there, and her and her husband were inside their trailer sleeping, and her girls came in screaming bloody murder, right? And they were like, "There's a monster outside! There's a monster outside!" That he was walking around their tent. They could hear it breathing, and that it pushed the tent down from the top. You know,
Wow.
yeah. And then that same cousin was telling me she was asleep, and she heard like this, oh, and she looked up. She was laying on her back. She looked up, and the window was right there by her head, and she saw these two eyes looking in at them. And she woke her husband up and told him, "Hey, there's somebody outside." And he went out there with a rifle, but didn't see anything. The ground's so rocky out there, like I said, he couldn't find anything. And so I asked her, I said, "Well, how tall would this person have to be?" And she goes, "You know what? Because this trailer's up on bricks. It's a big, trailer home." She goes, "Well, whatever it was would have to be at least 7 feet tall, you know." And I said, "Well, how wide was it?" She goes, "Man, you took up that whole window. That window's about 4 feet wide." I said, yeah, that wasn't
Wow.
a person. Yeah, but they have a lot of. They used to say they would see eye shine in the woods. Um, my aunt actually woke my uncle up one day. It was a nice night. She had the door open. They had a screen door. And she heard something breathing, and she woke my uncle up. He had a friend there, and they're like, "Hey, she said there's a bear outside. There's a bear here in Texas." So him and his buddy ran out there with the rifles and chased it back to the woods. And when he came back, he told my aunt, "I don't think that was a bear," and that was all he said. Yeah,
That's awesome.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm originally from Ohio, and there's more than 10,000 mounds there. Of course, the most famous one is the Serpent Mound, and then right across the Ohio River is where I grew up fishing with my grandfather. And one time we saw this strange two humps out of the Ohio River, and we always heard stories of the Mantis Man, and then there were serpents of the Ohio River, and then of course the Mothman of Point Pleasant, and that's right on the border right there. But we also thought it could have been some kind of Bigfoot type creature that was getting a swim, because Swamp Thing and Creature from the Black Lagoon got to be some type of variation of Sasquatch or Ancient One. So yes, I think these are sometimes mixed up between the Frogmen of Cincinnati right by you, Wiley, and then the Hairy Man of Tennessee Titans up in the mountains. These creatures can go deep in caves and then high up in mountains. They are the perfect predator, but they also heal us, and they also heal the forest as well. Just because I hear people all the time, they're like, "Oh, they would decimate the balance of the forest." No, guys, there is no decimation anywhere. They know how to keep things in harmony and moving forward and thriving. And I've heard many reports saying they can control how their body works enough to break down, the calories, and they don't have to eat much. Of course, our humans, we've been broken into such bad habits that there's no science to it. We just eat when we're bored and when we're sad and we need something to do. But to them, it actually means something.
Yeah, man. Here in the Appalachian Mountains, we have a lot of sightings and stuff of Bigfoot.
Oh yeah, Ranger West Virginia all the way to down here in Georgia. So Appalachian Mountains are full of, Sasquatch, the Wampus cats, feral people sightings. Of course, I just posted a video about Dennis Martin going missing, and the Key family saw a rugged creature carrying little Dennis in a red hoodie over his shoulder. South Force 10, his family is from that area. He's done a bunch of reports of how his family was paid to eliminate these creatures, and the Green Berets came in. So this thing gets really crazy down the wormhole. A lot of people, make fun of it that it's like Harry and the Hendersons, but I think this is like the primary force between a lot of military operations and, of course, the good books that we've always worshipped. There's a specialty in this Giants, man. Shrek, the Grinch, the Missing Link, the Tooth Fairy. We spell words. We write in cursive. We've always been paranormal. They've just kind of, drifted us so far apart of it. Now we're kind of empty. We have to really inherit what our soul is, and that's the eternal energy that cannot be contained, cannot be calculated. And I feel like that's why these creatures are maybe interested in us, because we walk with that light. And they might have some kind of light too, but we have something a little different.
Have you guys heard of a lot of sightings around here in the Appalachian Mountains? I live here in Eastern Kentucky.
Yeah, just from what I've heard, like on different podcasts, on different shows, I don't think anyone's ever contacted me directly about any sightings there. I don't know.
Yeah, I had a Bigfoot researcher from here actually on. He had a lot. He was the only Bigfoot researcher in my area. He had a lot of sightings that he investigated and stuff. Unfortunately, he just passed away.
Dang, rest in peace, man. He's in a better place and away from the static in the world. And I'm a big believer in heaven, man. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork. And handiwork is a real thing. I get all worked up in my words, but I've never used handiwork on my words, So there is handiwork. There's a real physical place on heaven. And all the rocket amateur videos, man, they show it. 73 miles up, it just starts floating. So we're closer to heaven than we are to each other. So, of course, one day in heaven is 1,000 years on earth. I'm not trying to get all preachy, but because I don't subscribe to any, particular religion. I just try to grasp the truth and the positivity from all tribes and realms of knowledge I can. But I also very believe in heaven, and I very believe in hell. I know that there's other continents out there that they're not telling us about. There's entrances there's worlds below our feet. And you were saying it right there. Eastern Kentucky, Mammoth Cave, pretty much the entrance to Middle Earth, to Agatha. There is still thousands of miles undiscovered down there. And they try to tell us, they try to put limits on us. They try to box us in. And guys, we are the answer. We are the anomaly. And again, I just want to keep pushing it forward so the establishment keeps shivering.
But yeah, Joe, I know that you was talking about some of the stories here in Eastern Kentucky.
Right. Yeah, I nothing that really comes to mind, but like I said, I've just heard this stuff on different podcasts, and I had a friend of mine that was in Kentucky for a long time. I don't know whatever happened to her. She's not my friend anymore on Facebook. I don't know if something happened to her or not, but she seemed to disappear. But I did have a guy call me one day. He called my friend Will. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Will Jeffing or not, but Will called me and said, "Hey, get a hold of this guy. He's in Kentucky." And I said, "Okay." So I called him up. We talked for a while, and he told me that him and his dad were fishing. They forgot to bring a spotlight, but they had a black light in the boat. And he said they were right off the bank, and they heard something walking, and they were trying to see what the hell it was. They didn't know if it was another person or not. But all they had was that damn black light. And he shined that black light, and all the sand just kind of lights up, right? He goes, "Man, he saw this big ass figure, about 7.5 feet tall, standing there." He said you could tell it was big and hairy. They didn't know, they had never believed in Bigfoot or thought about Bigfoot. And he said they were looking at it, and he goes, "My dad never cusses." He was like, "Get the damn motor started right now. Get that goddamn motor started right now." He said he's pulling on that damn motor. It doesn't want to fucking start. Of course, typical horror movie of shit, right? Trying to pull that damn motor to get it started, and the damn thing starts walking in the water. And he says he actually takes a couple of strokes, and when he finally gets the boat going, he said, "Man, they hauled ass to the middle of the lake and stayed there till sun up."
That is awesome.
Yeah.
In Torreya State Park, right here by my house, Finding Bigfoot filmed an episode after Stacy Brown filmed that 9-foot skunk ape here. But one time we were there hiking after dark, right before the park was about to close for anybody that wasn't camping there. And we heard this creature wading through the creek, and either it was a big deer or a Sasquatch. And actually, Moneymaker ended up hitting me up later. Didn't even know about that occurrence, and then told me to check that area by the creeks for the Sasquatch. And then a couple weeks later, I had a little similar encounter, but we stopped along this long bend, a different trail, but same park, and we had a boulder thrown behind us. But the time when I was waiting, I was terrified. The time with the boulder, I was calm as could be. So it's interesting how the grid changes every time, and maybe they can instill that dread on you if they really want you to get out, or if they just want a fair warning. It's not going to shock you as bad, but there might be different things at play, like infrasound as well. Maybe it was, there was rain in the air, and I was thinking about David Paulides missing 401 too much, so maybe that's why I was terrified that first time, and it was middle of the day the second time. It's just a lot of elements come to play, and I've had these face-to-face encounters in my dreams that really shake my core, and then I have others that they kind of show themselves that they've been following me my whole life, and that they've always been there. And I think they've always been there for a lot of people, but they just are blind to it. I'm always looking, even when I'm driving, and I feel like I've had, more than 10 roadside encounters, but when you're moving 45 plus miles per hour and things are all blurry, it's just one of those things you see out of the corner of your eye. You just have to keep it moving and, cherish the vision just every single morning to begin with,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do that same thing if I'm driving somewhere, especially when it's out in the country. Across the railroad tracks, I'm looking down the railroad tracks. If I cross over a creek, I'm looking down the creek, Yeah, I do all that stuff all the time. Going by the woods, you're kind of trying to keep an eye out and drive at the same time. I like doing that.
You have to, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man.
And every night I go outside, I'm looking up at the sky, I do that stuff.
Yeah, look up for UFOs, definitely,
Yeah,
man.
man.
I've experienced seeing UFOs, and definitely nothing like seeing a UFO, man. Do you think, this is a question I get a lot from the subscribers and viewers and stuff, and even Bigfoot researchers. I've been on their podcast before, and they always ask, do you think the government is hiding information on Bigfoot?
Yeah. I think they know all about it. I've known people personally who have gotten phone calls telling them to shut the fuck up. Yeah, just plain and simple. Tell them to shut the fuck up.
Yeah, 100%. They're definitely, of course, wiping it all under the rug. They've captured these creatures. They've killed these creatures. They've raised these creatures. They've used those creatures they raised to hunt down other creatures. Pretty much every thing, possibility, it sounds broad and bland, but pretty much every possibility you could think of has probably already unfolded. So the discovery of Sasquatch would just be part of their agenda if they put it out, just like the UFOs, man. I think big things are coming with projections in the sky and bad futures if we don't wake up, so we really have to rejoice as humanity before we're all robots and AI.
We're not already.
Yeah, most of us are, sadly.
Yeah. Walk around with a phone in our hand. I don't think we're too far from it.
No.
Yeah.
The next thing is the chip in your
in back of our head. Yeah. But yeah, man. We've had I was fishing one day. I don't really get off the Bigfoot thing, but I was fishing one day, and the guy I was fishing with, he points up to my left. He's like, "Hey, Joe, look up there," and we see these freaking round discs, this round saucer flying right above us. It was maybe like 300 feet above us. It was a clear night. The moon was out. I don't know if it was a full moon or not, but the moon was out. It was bright as shit. And it just went so slowly right above us. And like I tell everyone, a professional baseball player could have hit it with a baseball. That's how close it was. Like 300 feet right above our head. And it didn't, there was no wobble to it. It was just so smooth. And it was a typical saucer that you see round with a little ball underneath, a little dome underneath it. It was, it was that, that little half dome. And it just went right along the shoreline until it got out of sight. And it probably took like 5 minutes. That's how slow it was going. We watched it until it disappeared. And now in that direction, maybe like 3 miles down, there's a small airstrip where like single engine planes come in, and you can hear them suckers humming, buzzing coming in. This thing made no sound, no lights, just cruising so slow. Yeah, and like I said, we got a damn good look at it. So. Yeah.
Well, I got big things definitely planned for 2022 on the Bigfoot side. I got selected for the Bigfoot Odyssey 168 exhibition and documentary. And that's, of course, down here in Florida. So you can't come down here for an expedition without the guy that's been to most of the national parks and camped under a lot of the bridges out here. But I'm super excited to bring my vibrations to that. And I'm really into film. So on screen and behind screen, I definitely plan to contribute. But earlier than that, that's in March. But in January, I'm going to be a speaker at the Great Florida Bigfoot Conference. They just put out a video with my face in it. I'm pretty excited. But that's in Lakeland, January 22nd. So anybody that's, down here in the South, definitely come stop by my table, check out my speech. And then we're going hiking and camping in the Green Swamp the night of, and then the morning after. We're going to do some investigating. So I'm just super excited for that. And then tomorrow, which will probably be a little after this airs, but tomorrow my movie is actually premiering or showing in this video carnival in Los Angeles, and it's called The Void Cat, and I am the main character. It is a really cool horror film that is a werewolf type film / with a wild man and splinter cat. I am a researcher in it, and I find this cursed object, and it kind of puts me under this mystic spell. And then one of my friends come over, and then the rest is freaking history. But that movie is doing really good in all the short film circuits and film festivals. It's gotten second place in one, and then we just got picked for a finalist. So that means we're top 2 for tomorrow's carnival. I'm just really excited for that. And it's a really funny, campy vibe. And of course, I bring my my fun atmosphere and this energy to it. But the one movie that really got us started down here, the ball rolling, was Zillafoot, half Godzilla, half Bigfoot. And this one did so well online that it actually is picked up by Walmart, Best Buy, and FYE. So it's across the world available. And I play myself in it. I'm a cryptid research officer. The military brings me in, and I warn them of impending doom. And they're like, dude, you're probably right, but you still got to go. And it's really cool. It's a hodgepodge film. A couple directors made it, but my good friend Jack McClellan, he lives down here in Bristol, Florida, and Chattahoochee, the Native American mountains, right by a bunch of sightings of the skunk ape. It's really destiny that we became friends, and I was the Bigfoot guy, and then he's the movie guy who makes Bigfoot movies and werewolf films. And he was just on Vic Cundiff's Dogman Encounters radio because he had a werewolf encounter around here. So we get to put our knowledge and our vibes together. And man, Zillafoot is hilarious. But man, it's a really funny journey. And I guess while I'm at it real quick, my books as well. I've written 4 books. I put them out myself, self-published on Amazon. But then I just got a book deal with Beyond the Fray Publishing. They do Steve Stockton's book, Kenny the Cryptology Punk, Gemma Jade, Shannon LeGros, bunch of cool people. But my books, have really told my story. They're just reflections of my adventures. Monsters and Mysteries Around the Corner. This talks about how you don't have to watch graphic movies and read urban legends, man. They will come and find you. One cool example is my good friend Flat Rock Booger up in Alabama. He has security cameras all around his house. They have came up on his porch and banged on the side of his house. They've even opened up his door and popped their head into his house. And then they ran out into the woods and they're like, whoo, 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 like they got away with something. So it's really next level. But man, I've had just weird times that we thought, robbers were breaking into the house when we were younger and babysitting. So it really gets into just my journeys. This one is my research project, Big Brother Bigfoot. It documents my journey going from Canada, Cleveland, all the way down to Florida and then across America, because I lived out of my car from Florida or Ohio to Florida. And then that band that I joined a punk rock musical. They were pretty inspired by, hey, if Connor could do it, we could do it. So we lived on the road for a summer across America. And I spent a lot of time in Texas, Jackson, Mississippi, Pascagoula, Mississippi, New Orleans, Honey Island Swamp, Las Cruces, Grand Canyon. And then we ended up in Koreatown, Los Angeles, sleeping on a dancer's bed when he would go out and work. But man, this documents the Ohio Grassman, Youlegaina Yowie, Washington Wild Thing, Clear Lake Creature from Canada, Susquehanna Seal, Tennessee Titans, Florida Skunk Ape, Ocheesee Pond Wildman, the one that was captured here in the 1800s, Honey Island Swamp Monster, the DeSoto Demons, Pascagoula Prowlers, Texas Wood Boogers, the Desert Apes, the Mogollon Monster, the Mojave Sandman, the Big Bear Beast, and then the final chapter is Around the World. So you got the Yowie, the Yeren, the Yeti, the Abominable Snowman, Kushtaka, a bunch of strange creatures that are all across. And then I wrote another book that's called Panhandle Pirates. I don't have any copies of it, but that's my local journeys around here. We're just going after treasure down here in Florida, and we're battling the Kraken, hugging Molly, the Mobile Wolf Woman, the Pensacola Serpent, bunch of crazy stuff. And all the Native American mounds are here. The Kolomoki Mounds, it's a 60-foot pyramid up in Georgia. Again, guys, we had kings and queens here in America, so I'm not worshiping no Brandon. This green book documents my journey from Lake Erie down to the Florida swamps, and the final journey ends in Eden. Right here, the trail, Garden of Eden. 27 of the 28 trees in the Bible are right here at that park. And then gopher wood, which Noah used to build the ark. The only place long pine terrea grows in the whole wide world is right here in this region. Again, I don't think this is the only Eden. I don't think there's only one Atlantis. This earth is 10% of what it used to be. Jack and the Beanstalk and Middle Earth, the Hobbit, Desolation of Smog. There's so many different worlds. The Vikings believed in 8 worlds above, 8 worlds below. So we have to exist on more than just one surface. But that documents my journey, man, living from Ohio down to Florida. So that's my diary. The other one's my research project. And a lot of people say I talk too much too, Joe. So I tell them, read my books or play it on slow-mo because, man, keep up,
Definitely send me them links, man, and I'll put it in the description. And the Brandon comment caught me off guard.
I actually went to Brandon's old home in Key Waden Island down here in South Florida and gave it the bird, gave him my distress. But I'm all about, standing up to the establishment, even when it was Bush back there in D.C. I went there on a school trip, and I was standing with that lady that used to live in a tent right outside the White House. I understood that she stood for something back then, man. I'm not blinded by the establishment. I'm not worshiping NASA. That means to deceive. They have just put out CGI and harness videos to cover up Stanley Kubrick faking the moon landing long ago. So again, guys, there is the deep rabbit hole of fun stuff out here. But some people can't even get over the fact that, Sasquatch exists. Heaven is real. We have a soul. We are walking magicians, guys. We have to act like it. And I know us three and anybody tuning in the first 48 hours, they walking magicians too. But I just want to be that loud voice and inspiration to anybody that is on the same path as data that I'm on. I don't want to be preachy. I don't want to seem like I'm shoving it down anybody's throat. Research what I'm talking about. I just want people to know if they're looking into it, I'm looking into it too. And let's just move forward with it.
Absolutely, man. And Joe, what kind of upcoming podcast do you got, and when does your podcast come out? Is it once a week or is it every day?
It's just about every single Monday. If my guest can't do it, then I'll move it to another day. But for the most part, it's every Monday. It's live on Facebook and YouTube. Again, it's called Beyond the Woodline, and I have a variety of different guests on from different backgrounds. I'm going to expand that a little bit more to like a true crime, and I want to talk about serial killers, or even some of our military guys, kind of give them a platform to talk about their experiences in the military. I'm also opening up or creating another podcast. It's going to deal with weed. Uh, so yeah, that's what that podcast is going to be. It's going to be called Pirate Strains. It'll be happening in January or February. It'll be an all weed podcast. So, and then
Heck yeah.
there you go.
Hopefully the views is high like the.
I got my pipes over here. I got a whole cooler full of weed.
Dude, marijuana, cannabis, ganja is so close to the forest, man. It gets you closer to nature, and it raises your instincts, and you just become one. And then also it smells like the hairy man. Hairy man also loves ganja. You heard the stories in Humboldt County when they break off the top of the cones, and they know what they're going for. They know where is highest.
Really, I've heard of encounters where people who are growing their weed, like out in the jungles or out in the forest, rather, they'll have encounters with these creatures out there. So yeah, I honestly believe it. They might be using it for medicinal purposes. Who knows? Maybe they just want to get high too. It might be. That's not a far-fetched idea. I mean, pigs get drunk. So there you go.
Yes, I see you interviewed Moorhead. Is that Ron Moorhead's son?
No, it was another Moorhead guy.
Very interesting. That would have been really cool. I would have been like, whoa, I didn't know Ron Moorhead's son is even in this avenue. But I just subscribed to you, man. I'm definitely going to look forward to diving into it, man. That's really cool.
I appreciate that, man.
I'll definitely subscribe to you as well, man.
If any of the listeners are in the future right now, are on TikTok, definitely check me out. I know it's the Chinaman, but I am fighting that army by myself on there with my positivity and my paranormal. But I'm almost at 30,000 followers, and I go live pretty often on there, and I post videos that I find and investigate, and I put together collages and montages of pictures, and I have a lot of cool exclusive stuff on there. My Dennis Martin video was at 5K just in a couple hours. So it's really cool the spread and the reach you can hit, man. I've hit, more than 10 million hits, so it's really cool just thinking that's a lot of football stadiums and people being introduced to Bigfoot, Dogman, Mothman. So it's a very cool thing. But of course, a lot of people come sideways on TikTok, and then other researchers, they're like, man, TikTok isn't an instrument you should use. Well, guess what, guys? We used to say the same thing about Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. But now, where does the news give us news? Where does the police give us the quickest updates? On their Facebook page. So I guarantee here in TikTok in the next few years, businesses and everything's going to be, that's their forefront. So you could be, caught with the wind or be with the times, man. Again, I don't want anybody to sell their soul to anybody overseas or anything, but be that positive light. You can say all the bad things that are about something, but you can change it, man. You could change the narrative. And that's what I'm trying to do every day. And I've definitely met a lot of cool people on there. And when you reach, thousands of people, 4 or 5 submissions come in, and man, they feel comfortable with you again, and beautiful things happen. You could be there for somebody, man. And that's what I wish to just build a bunch of people that could be there for others. And then other people will feel more confident in sharing. And then that raises the IQ, the awareness, less missing people, and then just more respect for the forest. I think it would just be a positive thing all around. But it's a miracle just to even be alive and start this revolution. And everybody alive right now is definitely for a reason, because this is like the biggest time of humanity. This is the brink of destruction or the start of something really fresh, but it's going to take a lot of fighting and going through briars and barbs just to get there. But I'm really excited for 2022 with Bigfoot and the world and just everything going forward.
Absolutely. And I definitely want to thank Joe and Connor for being on. And their links definitely will be in the description. I mean, I definitely appreciate you guys, man, taking the time out of your night and being on for sure.
Oh, man, thank you. I appreciate it, man. And it was good meeting you too, Connor, man. You got a friend me, and I'd like to get you on my show too.
Thanks, Joe. Yeah, I would love to link up with you and do some investigating. I have a lot of friends in Texas, the Squatching Cowboy, Joe Pass, and then Media Palace, Eric. And then my grandparents lived in Brownsville, so I definitely have a little bit of TX in me. And I was a big Manson family fan, and we know the guy who ended up doing the killing. His name is Tex, but I've actually written to him. But hopefully, I don't know where that letter is in the mail. But it's very interesting, all the different avenues that are out there, man. But thank you, man. Really looking forward to the future with both of you guys. Keep on the forward path. Of course, remember Chief Wahoo, Cleveland Indians, Royal Tribe. They could change it to the Cleveland Guardians. They can get rid of the Washington Redskins. They're trying to erase a whole race of people. Just think what this next generation is going to think about America, man. It's so ignorant. They've already erased the mound builders, the race that came before the natives. Now they're doing that next, and they're going to say the pale-face people found this country, which is just just a horrible thing, man. It's being whitewashed, and just truth is being so, shivered and drawn out that we don't know what's what anymore. So we have to fight for what's right. So again, all these, statues coming down, we have to remember where we went wrong. And if we just, burn all of our books like Fahrenheit 451, we're just going to become a one world government. And we're seeing it in other countries. It's really sad. So again, come together, guys. Stay natural. Do not trust the establishment. They are evil, man. And it's all 666. So stay with the creator and remember it, man. We're all water. Stay positive. You say, I love you to a glass of water, it thrives. You say bad things to it, it gets moldy. We are mostly water, and so is this world. So walk with that positivity. I know things get hard, but man, your little light can illuminate the darkest tunnel. So just try to find that light. Be that orange and red, not that dark blue and purple.
Definitely good advice. And definitely want to thank Joe and Connor for being on. Y'all have a good night, and God bless.